Hi everyone. We are going to do a scrappy 9-patch quilt today. We are going to set it on point. So I do have some materials out so I can show you what we've got going on there. I decided my daughter, or not my daughter, my granddaughter wanted a beautiful little doll quilt. So I was trying to get some ideas. I thought I had to go small. I usually don't work with anything much smaller than a 2.5-inch square. These are actually 1.5-inch squares, and they made up some cute little 9 patches. In a minute, I will show you the rest of them that are on my design board, but here's 2 of them. So what I did is I decided to start out with 1.5-inch squares out of my bucket and or some strips. You don't need a whole lot. In order to make a 9-patch, you are going to need 5 of one color and then 4 of another color that's contrasting. Okay, so grab your 1.5-inch strips, cut them up into 1.5-inch squares, and have some fun. The other things that we're going to need for this to set it on point, well, first we're going to have our middle squares. These 9 patches come out to be a 3.5-inch unfinished, a 3-inch finished square in the quilt. So I cut up some 3.5-inch squares to alternate. And then what we're going to do is we're going to need, for an on point, we're going to need 2 corner squares. So these ones measure, I believe they're 5.5 inches. Yes, for this quilt. This is a 5.5-inch square. We're going to need 2 of them because we've got 4 corners, and we're going to cut it on the diagonal right here, which we will do right now. And just line up your corners. Might get my head in here a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. And we're going to cut them in half on the diagonal. Now we've got 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are our corner squares. Okay. These are going to be our outside triangles. So we're going to cut these on both of the diagonals. I think I'm going to do this one first. Let's line this up nice. Okay. I cut them all, but they're not really lining up the best. These squares are actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.5-inch squares. Then we're going to cut them on the diagonal this way and then that way. These will give us our outside setting triangles. Pull these apart. These will go on the outside like this. I can get it in there. Let's cut these other ones up so we've got those done. And again, these were 6.5-inch squares. And our corner ones were 5.5-inch, just cut on one diagonal. There, got those cut. I'm not sure if I'm going to add a border to this yet, so I did not cut that. Okay, so here's our cute little 9 patches that we're going to make. I did not worry about colors or anything like that. I just basically went to my scrap bin and got some stuff out. Thought these went nice together, thought these went nice together. And what I did is I just started cutting them and I started stacking them up. And now what I'll do is I'll take this over to the sewing machine and I will chain piece these by putting that one on there and sewing a 1/4 inch. I am using a scant 1/4 inch because these are small. So I'll do this first row here. That'll be underneath, and then I'll pick up the next row, which would be this one, and do all of them down through. And then I will cut them apart and come back and add the last 3 onto it. They'll be chain pieced together, and then what I'll do is I'll go to the ironing board because I am a fanatic about ironing, and I will iron my seams one way. It doesn't really matter which way you go with them. You're going to have some bulk when it comes to these because they're small. But you don't have to worry about ironing them a certain way. They are going to be set on point, so you're not going to be matching up any of the, you're not going to be like matching things together like this, where you want one going one way and one going the other way so that they nestle. We're not doing that. They're going to be, like I said, set on point. So the next one that will be here will be one of these light squares. A light square will go right there. And then that one would go there. So you're not going to be matching any seams, which is nice. Give me a minute to go and sew these together. And then we'll come back and I'll show you my board with all the rest of the squares on it. And we'll put the side triangles on and the corner triangles on. And we'll get ready to sew the quilt top together. Okay. We're going to do the little squares is we're going to line them right up together. Right. We're going to line these right up together like that. And we're going to send them through the sewing machine. There we go. I've got my washi tape here. The red line is where my needle is, and this is my 1/4 inch. You do a scant and go right down the side of it. Ready, flip these. I thought these would be kind of hard to go together because they're so small. I was wrong. In fact, I'm falling in love with them. They're very cute. And I'm actually thinking about doing a whole quilt, a larger quilt. So that was the first one, and then we'll go and do, I think I have 3 on here. So put these together. They should fit right on there really nice. Line them up. They're pretty easy to send right through. Hardest part is picking them off of the board here. Then we'll do the third one here. I think the most I stacked up was about 10 on top of here and chain piece them all. You can stack them all up and chain piece them, or you can do a few at a time. done? I think so. Let's trim these apart. Beautiful. Look at how nicely those came together. Like I said, I'm absolutely loving these little 9 patches. I am going to take these to the ironing board and iron them, and we'll be right back. Okay, so here are the 3 little 9 patches that we did. They're very pretty, so nice. My corners came together there. Very nice. Doesn't always happen that way, but most of the time it does. What we're going to do next is we're going to trim these to 3.5 inch blocks. There's just enough. Just takes a little tiny bit off. Let's see, excuse me here, let me grab a, there we go. All right, now we have a couple of things going on here. We want the diagonal to go down through the corners, okay? We also want this to line up so that we have, that's my 3.5 inch mark there and there. So I've got a little that could come off up here and a little bit here, not much on this one at all. I just want to make sure it's come down through here good and it's lined up kind of square in the middle, okay? And then again, like I said, these are not going to be butting up to another one. So if they're off just a little bit, it won't matter because they're going to be on the diagonal. And we are not going to take off much at all on this one. Mostly just clean up the threads. I didn't take much off on any of them, to be honest with you. That's what I get right there. Always cut very good when I'm here on camera. Let's see if we can get that little piece off of there. Again, we're going to line up our 3.5 inch mark and our 3.5 inch mark down here. And just shave off our threads. There's our corner, there's our corner. We've got 3.5, 3.5. We're missing some there. Let's move it around. This one seems to be a little bit wobbly. Not that far up. There we go. Turn it and line her up again. I don't want threads. There we go. Three and a half, 3.5, 3.5. Let's move that just a hair. Oh. I tend to push and then it wiggles. There we go. So those 3 blocks, I did not get much. Just a little tiny bit of fluff there. Let's get rid of that. There's our 3 blocks. We'll add to the rest of them. And I'll come back in just a minute. We're going to change cameras and I will go over to the design board so you can see the layout with the setting squares and the outside setting triangles and the corners. Okay, I hope that we got all of this in here. It is a little crooked. I'm going to finish putting the triangles up here. These are our setting triangles. You can see that they're a little bit bigger. You need room for your seam allowance and then a little to cut off. More here than what I thought. Aren't they just adorable little squares? Absolutely love them. The more I look at it, the more I just want to go and make a big one. If you don't have a design wall, you can always put these up on a table, spread them out. When you're doing a quilt on the diagonal, or if you're doing a quilt on point, it's best to lay it all out first and work off of that to get your rows done, because you're going to do this row, 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 and this row. And once those are sewn together, then we will sew them together all the way down. I need some, here we go. And these are our corner triangles, which are very oversized. Easier to take some off than to put it back on or to rip it out. Now, beautiful squares. I didn't really pay attention to anything other than grabbing a few things out. I said, oh, these two look good together, these two look good together. And I cut a few of them up. I think they look pretty good like this. I've got yellow, little yellow, little yellow, little yellow. There's quite a bit of purple. I don't see anything that's really close together. This one I didn't quite have enough, so I put a little different color red square, a square from here and there. I think that just adds to the actual quilt. When people are looking at it, they'll go, oh, look, that's not, that she put the wrong block in there, but I didn't really. So I think some of these quilts that look a little bit more vintage or antique need to have a little bit of lines in them. I wish I had a little bit more plaid. I don't have a whole lot of plaid, but I tried to mix and match a few fabrics in there, and I think it looks lovely. I think it would look lovely, really, really lovely as a very, a twin size or even a queen size quilt. You can do anything you want for your setting squares here. I chose the black and white dots. I also bought some lighter blue, I guess you would call them a teal dots. They're very close. I don't think you would have really known the difference on it. And I'm not sure, like I said, what I'm going to do for the binding yet, if I'm going to add a border here all the way around, or if I am just going to go ahead and bind it. I may just put the batting in and a backing on and leave my 2 inches so that I can fold it over and bring my back right up to here and sew it on. I don't want to cut off any of these points here on the outside if I can help it. That's why I overcut these setting triangles and the corners. And I'll show you as we go along and start sewing this together how we're going to trim that as we're sewing them. Okay, so I'm going to start on the first row and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to sew this one to this one, and then this one to this one. When you flip these over, you're going to have some. You want to leave a little overhang here and a little overhang here. I think I can pretty much eyeball it. But if you can't, you can fold these in half so you can get the exact middles. And sew her on. This is the second piece for the second row. It was right there. Row number 1 is finished. It is underneath my needle, but it's finished. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up the next square from here. I don't have to do any middle pieces or anything, just on these ones out here, so you get enough tail on both ends so that you've always got enough room. And as this goes longer, we'll have more middle blocks in here. So I will sew this one on, bring this back, put it up here, and then I'll start on another row. Okay, so this is our first row. I'm not going to worry about the outside corners yet. I could put them on at any time. But what we're going to have to do with this first, this is our first row here. Second row is under the needle right now. We will need to trim this a little bit. That's where we made these triangles oversized. So we're going to trim them off. That way we have a straight edge that will go with the corner. Straight edge here. And it only happens on the triangles because I don't want them to be short. If they're short, then you lose points when you come to your squares. And I don't want to do that. So right now I'm just going to leave that right there. My corner and that one. Working on row 2 now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up row 3. And again, I'm going to do this again. I'm going to fold this point down to the corner here. Make a little, and I will take this one and do the same. Where I have a center point, I'll line them up and I'll have enough overhang on both sides. So I don't come up short. So here's row 2. Put that back where it belongs there. I started on row 3. I'm going to pick up my next piece and put her on. First thing I'm going to do is, because I have little dog ears here, I'm going to trim those off. And I'm going to do the same thing with these triangles. I'm going to fold this in half. find my center mark, make a little crease there. Put it back on the board so I know what I'm doing. I'm going to mark all of these. So those pieces on, and then I'm going to do some trimming because they're a little long on the outside, so I want to make sure that I'm trimmed off. I've got some extra here on each one of these corners, so I'm just going to trim them off. Square it up, trim them off, and then we are going to sew the rows together. And hopefully everything turned out all right. And I've got one more down here. Okay, so I hope you can see how that is there. Not very good at this right here, but that's my corner. And we're going to come in and we're going to trim off a lot here. We're going to put it back up here right now. And we're going to pick up another one and do it. My last corner down here. All right, at this point, I am going to do some trimming because these need to be trimmed off. I think I'll take the camera over there and let you watch me trim just a little bit. And then we're going to come back, I'll put them back up on the board, trim each one and put them back up so they stay in order. And then all I've got to do is come back and stitch this one to this one. Stitch this one to this one. And then these two together all the way down through and we'll be all set. Okay. This is our first corner block there. I'm going to press that real quickly. It might wiggle here a little bit. First thing we got to trim off is across here, okay? Let me get my bigger square. I like to work with squares. They a little bit more area to push down on. But looks like I'm going to be a little short, so let's get a long one. I want to square up with here, or line up with here, and then I want to kind of square up in here. See if we can use this end. It's not going to help me neither. Let's see if this will work. Because these are really long here, and this is the corner. I have to come off to a 90 degree there. So if I'm looking at it like this, go. So I have to line up across there. Let's see if some of these points line up pretty good there. And this looks line her up there. Just square it up. I want to go right across there. It still leaves me with nice seam allowance there. Let's hope we did that right. Okay, so this is actually row 1, well, row 2 after the corner that we just did. We're going to square one of these up so you can see how that's done. First thing I'm going to do is just take my rabbit ears off. And I look like I sewed pretty good in here, so I'm not going to worry about that too much, but I am going to run the blade right up it. But I'm not looking to take anything off. Okay. There. I'll turn it around. I'll do the same thing on this side. I'm lining up with this edge here. Looking to see if I'm as straight across there as I can get. Now I need to go up a little further. I get that. This one seems to be a little bit. There we go. But I think it's okay. So let's move her up. Looks pretty good there. Looks pretty good there. I'm coming across straight here. Pretty much a little off. Okay. And that looks good in there. So let's go ahead and cut this off. And that's our row 2, which will go back on the board. Okay, getting a little nervous doing this trimming. These diagonal sets are a little bit challenging for me. So what I did is I took the first corner down and I brought it over here. This is our corner, it's this way. And then this was row 1 that we worked on. I have just about a 1/4 inch right on both sides, so I'm hoping that's going to be enough. What I want to do is I'm going to flip this one over on this one, and I want to line up these seams here where the squares match. I want these to come together right there and right there, okay? So I'm not going to like fold this in the middle or anything. I'm going to match these seams. Now, these are pressed out. And these ones are pressed in. And we are going to butt them right up together. Hope I got you in the camera there. Come on, let's go together there. There we go. You can feel them. There it is. Kind of snaps right in. And then I will line that up down here. And I think I'm going to throw a couple pins in these. So And I don't have my pins right next to me. Let's grab some pins. So again, I put this right here, nestled those seams together. I'm not going to pin right on that. I'm going to pin right before it. I could set a pin in there, but I'm not going to. I'm going to take that. It's small enough. I'm just going to take that over. But I am going to pin one more spot down here. I'm going to bring these two together. So they're nestled right up there nice. And I'm going to pin right before it. And then this will come down here. And like I said, I could put a pin in there, but I'm not going to right now. But I'm going to take this to the machine and I'm going to stitch this. I'm actually going to stitch this probably on this side. I don't know yet. Okay. I just went to the sewing machine and I sewed it right down there. And this is actually working out quite nicely. It's a 1/4 inch right there. Went right through there. Down to the end, which left me just a little bit on the end there too. Open this up. That seems to have come together quite nicely there. Beautiful, beautiful. Now what we're going to do, I don't know if I'm going to iron them right now or not. I think I'm just going to finger press it for right now. Put it back up on the wall. Finish doing my trimming for my strips, which was taking off the dog ears and then the little bit extra there, keeping it as square as I can keep it. And then I will stitch them. I'll start stitching them together so that we have a completed top. I got to figure out how to do those two corners that don't give me anything to line up with. So give me a minute to think about this, okay? Because I have to make a corner here. And my other one had setting triangles that I could run off of. I need to make sure that I leave my 1/4 inch in there too. So give me a minute to figure this out. Okay, sorry about that. Still not quite sure what I'm doing. Hi, Hank. But we are going to cut straight because I need to sew this whole edge to something, so I don't want this here. And I honestly think that I should have waited to put the triangle on. Let's just line this up best we can here. And we will trim that off right there. And if that doesn't work, we will cut another triangle and get the seam ripper out. This is what happens when you don't use a pattern. Somebody else's pattern. Good right there. Looks good on that end. We'll trim that off. And then we're going to take two of these and we're going to sew them together and see if it works. All right, these are my diagonal strips. The quilt's coming down this way diagonally. This is one corner. And this is the piece that I just worked on. I actually just trimmed it off so that I could stitch the actual rows together. I'm hoping that when this lines up, then we'll trim off whatever we don't need here and on the other side. Okay? So we're going to look at it and see if it works. Probably should have pulled the book out. It's been a long time since I've done one of these diagonal sets or on point. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to line these up and I'm going to pin it together. And then I'm going to sew it and see what happens. Okay, I think we might be fine here. I stitched this down through here. And these squares are really coming together nicely. I don't think we're going to get too much distortion. Got some really good corners there. That's a little off. But what's going to happen is this is going to come down here, and then we're going to square this up going this way and that way, which will give us a little corner. And I got a little nervous there, but only because it looked different. The other one had this one on there where I could square it right up when we were doing it before we actually sewed it. So that looks good. I'm going to finish squaring these up and stitching them together. So here we are again with the other corner. I thought I'd just get it out again and let's do it one more time because there's only two corners like this. I want to line up along there. Make sure I'm straight here. I'm on the 3.5 inch mark there, and I'm going to cut that off. And I'm going to turn it around and do the same thing again. Put my 4 line there. It's a little off. Let's move that way. Those are lining up right there, but I don't want them right there. I want my 3.5. And it might be a little off, but we'll see. I always hate to cut if I'm in doubt. So there's our corner. That's actually going to be the left corner. So yay, this is where we're at. Okay, this is the bottom half of the quilt. Little doll quilt, and this is the top half. Okay, remember we started with the red and blue in the corner there. I sewed all of these together. If we look at it on the back here, they're going together nicely. I have not ironed yet, but they're one up, one down, going together real nice. Getting some really nice points here. I guess you call them points. They come together. So I'm at the last little piece here where I'm going to flip this one up on top of this one and stitch it together. And then we will come back and finish taking off a little bit more of the square up here. Oh, you can't see it. We'll finish trimming off that little bit of square up there so that this squares up to that. Okay? There are a couple little dog ears here, which we'll have to take off, and we'll have to square the quilt up when we get ready to put the batting and do the actual quilting. But I wanted to show that to you. I'm going to do this last little piece here, and then we'll put it back underneath here. Okay. Thanks, Hank. See people again? Okay, so here's the whole top, and here's that one corner there. And we have the second corner, which is down here. I'm going to square those up now. I'll probably leave these on until I get ready to do the actual quilting on this. I think it turned out really, really, really cute. I'd love to make one that's bigger. I think it just turned out so pretty. I really love these little 9 patches. I just think they're gorgeous. And to set it on point like this makes the whole quilt look really, really pretty. It's going to make a nice little doll quilt. Take those corners off, and it actually looks like it's squared up really nice too. Just looking at it right from here, and it looks really good. I mean, I've got that corner down there. We'll turn it around. We'll line the top up here. And I've got to iron it yet, but the back all went together really nice too. If you look at that, without it being ironed yet. I did not, what I did was when I did the setting triangles, I ironed everything to the triangles on the ends there, which allowed all of these to really go in nicely together. So I'm going to iron it, cut my corners there, make sure that they're all done up, and we'll be all set. Ta-da! It's just gorgeous. There, she's all ironed up. We are going to fold her up right now. As today is done, I really love the way these points all came out. Now, I think when I go to actually do the quilting on this, because there is bulk in the 9 patches, I think what I'm going to do is run go right through here. So I'll run a straight line across here and straight lines down through there. So there'll be an X in each one of these white boxes, but there won't be anything in these where your needle could get a little stuck or anything like that. And I think that would look fine. The other thing you can do is you could just run a line straight down through the whites. It's these are 3-inch blocks, so you're looking at a 3-inch finished block in here. So if that's 3 inches is probably 4.5. Let's check it. oh, yeah, 4 1/4, about 4 1/4 across. So when that comes to doing any quilting, keeping it, hands width. It's right there. Boom, boom. And I've got small hands. So I really, really think this came out darling. I might just keep it and hang it on my door. Also, I like it so much, I think I might make one to probably double this size and put it on my dining room table. It's a table topper. I absolutely love some of these little old fabrics. I don't know where I got them all, but they really play nice together. And I didn't really take any time to say, oh, I'm going to go with all reds or blues or greens. I just pulled some stuff out, and I thought they would look good together, and I put them together, and I think she looks adorable. Look at this block right here. I didn't quite have enough to finish it, so these 2 pieces are different than these 3 pieces, and same with that. So enjoy.